The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. Today is Monday, February 19th, and today is National Arabian Horse Day. It's also National Vet Girls Rise Day, National Lash Day, because everyone loves a good set of lashes, and National Chocolate Mint Day. What do you think about that, Yarrow? Chocolate mint. Okay. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
I love it, Jason.
I bet you do. I bet you do, Rico. Some chocolate mint. And, of course, that's right. Today is a federal holiday. It is also President's Day, so shout out to all those dead presidents. You know, we love counting.
And the ones walking dead.
And, oh, that was that was good. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all through our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you to everyone tuning in from any one of those platforms. And today, Rico is out of internet. So today he is calling in because he's caught in the flash flood that is engulfing Southern California right now. It is the dope dad himself on the call-in. Thanks to Adam's amazing tech skills. Shout out Adam and his feathered hair. That's right. But going in first, we have the dope dad himself, the man who is getting blacked out today because of the rain. It is none other than the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Oh, yeah, Jason.
Yeah.
And, you know, in honor of the blackout, you know exactly what this chocolate meant.
Oh, I see what you did there. Chocolate Mint Day. Oh, nice.
But nonetheless, it's been a great weekend. I got Cali vibes with everybody, seeing everybody out there, and you know, taking in the atmosphere, and everybody who was out there with us. Much love. Can't wait to see you guys again. But we made a couple of Instagram posts this weekend, and if you haven't been thinking about it prior to, and if you ever wonder who's looking into those fire-ass IG posts, this fire-ass Facebook or whatever platform you've been posting on, and if it'll have any effect on your personal life or anyone else's, think no more. The Food and Drug Administration is highlighting its scientific review into marijuana that led the agency to recommend rescheduling, according to Kyle Yeager over at Marijuana Moment. They're looking into the agency to recommend rescheduling, a process that involved comprehensive analysis of research, as well as looking into hundreds of posts on social media platforms to see how consumers describe cannabis's therapeutic impact. In its 2023 fiscal year drug safety, so you've been posting yourself smoking bones, bongs, all that stuff. It has contributed to the FDA saying like, we've lost this war. And they're pushing towards rescheduling at the very least because everybody's online doing it. So the center, this is the Drug Safety Priorities Report that was published Thursday. The FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research discussed various initiatives that it says illustrate the depth and versatility of drug safety initiatives across the center and FDA. That includes the cannabis analysis conducted under a 2022 directive from your favorite president, Jason Beck, Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't sure what he's going to do with this recommendation or anything like that. So he said to his minions, go to the internet. And they did. And they saw Jason Beck interview and Be Real. And they said, there's no way we can keep this illegal. As part of CDER's cross-center evaluation of marijuana, CDER Office of Surveillance and Epidemiology completed a review of epidemiologic and pharmacovigilance data sources to inform the 8FA provided to the DEA, it said. After the conclusion of the FDA review, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services submitted a letter with hundreds of pages of research material to the DEA with the Schedule 3 recommendation. DEA is now carrying out its own review before making a final determination, but there were rumors that a decision would be announced 2 weeks ago, but Biden administration official told Marijuana Moment that they would waive off that speculation. FDA's work to reach a scheduling conclusion also involved a team of social scientists who spent 6 months conducting a detailed qualitative analysis of online and social media conversations occurring about marijuana. The deep state has been looking into your page, Jason. How do you feel about it?
Man, you know, Rico, what I really wonder about with all this is what influencers were they really looking at? Like who? What were the actual pages on social media that they were looking into? That's what
I'd like to see this redact. That's probably what was in the redactions in the report when they actually released it.
Yes,
but,
right.
It's a different. They were looking at your Instagram pages. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching right now, they were looking at all of our shit.
I wonder if there's a cannabis psyop like Taylor Swift.
I think this is confirming that there is.
This is confirming that there is. Oh, man. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Man, oh, man. Yarrow, I'm trying to figure out, is Yarrow with us?
Adam.
Oh, there we go. We hear you, Yarrow. I hear you. I hear you, Yarrow. Oh.
For some reason, I can't hear you through the Discord. So
interesting. Weird. We hear you, Yarrow. We definitely hear you.
Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna load in and load out again.
Oh man, look at that! Look at that, Rico. He's practicing.
President's Day weekend. I'm loading in, loading out.
Weird. Yarrow is on top of his pullout game today.
Restart.
What's
Restart.
that?
Are we still going?
Yeah. No, we're still going. We're 100% still going. I mean,
separately, the FDA report said the agency completed an assessment of the capabilities and usefulness of a variety of epidemiologic, pharmacovigilance, and drug utilization data sources for monitoring the safety of unapproved cannabis-derived products. So pretty much, in a nutshell, for 6 months, the FDA has been stalking cannabis influencers and open cannabis users in both legal and illegal markets. And this is what got them to come to the conclusion that it needs to, at the very least, be rescheduled, and at the most be descheduled. So how do you guys think about this, man? On one hand, I think it's a good thing that, we've been so positive about cannabis, but on the other hand, all these social media platforms has been bowing down to the government and letting them scrape all of our data and read all of our shit and look directly at us. Like, nobody's safe. Are you going to be thinking twice about what you post now, knowing that the feds have been and will continue to be looking at your social media? My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. And from a dark black void, but with the chocolate mint. blackout specifically.
That's right, chocolate.
Signing off. What do you think, Jason?
Rico, I'll tell you what. In regards to this, I've always believed in putting on a good show for the federal government. And so I'm going to continue to post and trend and all of that good stuff. I'm going to continue to influence, and hopefully the government is looking at my posts and is listening to the things that we say here on High at 9 News, because we should not be going to Schedule 3. We need to de-schedule cannabis. And if I could tell the DEA anything, I would be telling them that.
I think also that make sure you guys are careful about what you're putting on these posts. The government is outwardly and openly saying that they're watching your shit.
Rico, what do you think? I wonder if Mark Zuckerberg had anything to do with this, because they have a pretty bad cannabis policy at Meta, Instagram, and Facebook, and they're probably like, the federal government is like, hey, you guys have too much drug content on your platform, and Facebook is probably like, oh man, we can't clean it up. It's too much. It's too many profiles for us to be able to monitor all at once, and and all these fake bot profiles and all these little trapper pages and whatnot. They're like, it's just really hard for us to monitor. And so therefore, now, since they can't do the work of the government, now the government is just caving in because they can't police the streets themselves.
Yeah, nobody better to police everybody than Mark Zuckerberg. Mm-hmm. He's out there. He has data on all of us. The Facebook, if the Trump election, when he won, Cambridge Analytica, if that didn't teach you anything about the scope and the reach of Facebook and the ability to mine data of people's sentiment, people's movements, people's actions, then I don't know what will move you in that direction.
Rico, you mentioned you said the election that Trump won. So I want to know, which one were you referring to?
2016, Cambridge Analytica. The Russia campaign.
Okay, 2016, not 2020. Okay, just want to make sure that we're saying, he's about to be the 3-time champ.
No, he's not. We're gonna have a Walking Dead president.
Oh boy! Oh man, it's the zombie apocalypse for real going on in Washington D.C. right now. Oh man, my God. Yeah, we're gonna keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll right into a commercial, and we are gonna be right back.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California, with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
All right, and we're back. And we're back. Thank you all so much. We had a little technical difficulties. We're making sure that Yarrow can get in through the rain and all this storm and everything, and now we have him. So, Yarrow, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It is raining cats and dogs down here.
It is.
Good morrow, Yarrow.
Oh man, you guys. It's a fun little President's Day show.
Yes, it is.
Loose and easy. You ready, Rico?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's pouring down buckets, and you know who had a major outpouring of love this weekend? It's the man himself, who's known for smoking the best weed in the world, but he's also known on these rainy days to cuddle up with kittens and rub them gently.
Yes,
to give strong messaging out to you all that the news don't quit. It doesn't matter if there's a monsoon outside. It doesn't matter how bad it's flooding in Los Angeles right now. He's in the studio, putting in work, making sure you motherfuckers get the news like you're supposed to. JC Beck, what do you have for us today?
That's right. News. That's right. We are similar to the post office, nor rain, nor sleet, nor snow shall stop us from delivering the news to you all Monday through Friday. Yes, thank you so much, Rico. And it was a fantastic weekend over at the Cali Vibes Festival. We definitely want to thank Be Real TV for allowing us to participate with them on their channel. We hosted a few panels. We're going to be putting up some content and things from that whole event. Also, too, we want to send a big thank you to the High Hopes Festival. We were in the High Hopes Lounge, VIP backstage lounge, all weekend long, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over at the High Hopes area. And so we want to thank everybody, Chang, Carla, Kendall, everybody with High Hopes and Be Real TV, all the production crew, everybody over there, Be Real himself. And thank you all for such an amazing weekend. And man, I'll tell you what, I have a really interesting story, you guys. Probably, I think Yarrow, your favorite person in cannabis, is in my story today. That's right. You guessed it, Yarrow. Mike Tyson urges Joe Biden to free thousands locked up over cannabis. He says, right these wrongs.
You gotta listen to Iron Mike. Yes,
that's right. That's right, Iron Mike. The former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson has urged Joe Biden to follow through on his commitment to, in quotes, correct our country's failed approach to marijuana and give clemency to the thousands of nonviolent cannabis offenders still languishing in federal lockups. President Biden has the power to effect real change. He can right these wrongs and grant clemency to those who are sitting in prison for cannabis offenses, Tyson told The Guardian in another quote. We know the failed war on drugs and was wrong, and no one should be sitting in jail for cannabis. It's time our country moves forward and end cannabis prohibition once and for all. Legal cannabis sales in the U.S. could soon reach $40 billion annually, and campaigners say it's an injustice that more than 2,000 people, overwhelmingly people of color, are in federal jails sentenced for conduct that today is essentially legal in almost half of the country. With adult use cannabis legal in 24 states, about 30,000 more are in state penitentiaries for nonviolent cannabis offenses. Activists say with data patchy, Biden doesn't have the power to pardon those offenders, but Tyson pleaded with the president to pressure the states to do so. Biden has been accused of misleading voters in his messaging over his pardon for people convicted of simple marijuana possession offenses, in line with his campaign promises to decriminalize cannabis. In quotes, no one should be in jail for just using or possessing marijuana, he said in October of 2022. However, as of 9 months earlier, in quotes, no offender sentenced solely for simple possession of marijuana remained in the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission. Those who remain in prison face charges including drug trafficking. In a video for Reform, a campaign cannabis brand founded by Weldon Angelos, who served a 13-year prison sentence for selling less than $1,000 worth of cannabis before he was granted clemency in 2016, Tyson said it begrudged him that people were doing murderer's time for trafficking a mild medicine. The White House will receive a letter on Tuesday penned by Tyson, a cannabis advocate and entrepreneur, which says it's high time. I wonder if High Times paid him to say that. The authorities reconcile with communities, including poor people and people of color who have paid the heavy cost of the U.S.'s so-called drug war. Even for those who sold cannabis and are now free, their criminal records are often a serious impediment to finding work. In a quote, "The war on marijuana is over, Mr. President, as seen in legalization efforts across the country and in polls showing that most Americans oppose marijuana prohibition." Tyson wrote in a letter to Biden, "Through a categorical clemency grant, you can declare an end to the federal warfare on our own people and mark a new era based on peace and prosperity." Tyson's letter comes after the rappers Drake, Killer Mike, and a host of other chart-topping artists told Biden in a letter in 2021 that enough is enough. No one should be locked up in federal prison for nonviolent marijuana offenses. In 2019, Jerry Heyman, a former college football player, was federally sentenced to 10 years for distributing large amounts of cannabis despite his home state of California having legalized medical cannabis in 1996. The state sanctioned adult use sales in 2016. And in a quote, I'm loyal and love helping people in need, he wrote in an online bio. Prior to this incarceration, I graduated college and was launching a dispensary. I'm a man of God. Most importantly, I'm a kind-hearted person, he says. Danny Trevino of Michigan, another state that has legalized adult use cannabis in 2019, was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. In a quote, he says, "Another Mexican goes to prison and leaves his little girl behind." His mother, Berta Garcia, said previously, his 3-year-old daughter, "This is such an injustice." In November, the rapper Rollo, born Terrell Davis, was released after 5 years in federal prison over $1 million worth of cannabis that police found on his plane in Atlanta, Georgia. And Georgia decriminalized possession of small amounts of cannabis back in 2017. And Hyatt 9's very own Luke Scarmazzo is mentioned in here, and it says Luke Scarmazzo became the last known Californian to be released from prison for federal cannabis trafficking charges in February of 2023 after serving nearly 15 years for running a licensed medical cannabis dispensary that was ruled to have ruled to have sold to patients without a prescription. In quotes, he says, "It didn't feel like we were wrongly convicted, but it felt like it was an injustice, not only for the amount of time we received on a first-time drug offense," Scarmazzo told CBS. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, has long maintained that cannabis is among the most addictive and dangerous drugs and has no medical value, despite a growing wealth of evidence to the contrary. A top advisor to Richard Nixon, the president who first placed cannabis into the most restrictive drug scheduling category, previously admitted, do we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. And the DEA has been reviewing cannabis status as a Schedule I drug on par with heroin after the Department of Health recommends its rescheduling to a lowest priority. And here at High 9 News, we stand by the fact that cannabis needs to be descheduled, not rescheduled. And I'm going to digress and see what y'all have to say about this. I'm sure you guys got an earful.
I'm so tired of that convicted rapist getting more than his 15 minutes of fame. I understand we have a Judeo-Christian society, theoretically, based on the notion of redemption and forgiveness. That is between God and Tyson. I do not forgive convicted rapists. And all y'all who stand in line at some booth to get your picture taken with this gentleman, shame on you. There are a lot of amazing athletes out there, and certainly the convicted rapist should not insert himself as a spokesperson for a criminal justice issue. Wait until you have no blood on your hands, and then come back and get your additional 15 seconds of fame talking about all the cannabis prisoners out there. Look, I love the show. Thank you so much for educating me when it comes to pigeons and doves and all them little flying furry little creatures, but you are still a convicted rapist.
Yarrow. I have 2 things to say real quick.
Yeah.
Number one, I would have loved to hear the reading of this and to hear Mike Tyson say peace and prosperity. Number one.
That would have been great.
But number two, I think this think this whole thing, I think it's a great representation with Mike Tyson saying this, because for his rape conviction, he did less time than 99% of these offenders for cannabis. So I think he would be a very good candidate to say something like this, like him or not, or if you forgive him or not. The fact of the matter is that he should be forgiven for his past crimes. This is what America is about. America is about redemption stories, and whether you like him or not, everybody knows his past. Everybody knows that he still, to this day, denies that he admitted to lots of heinous crimes, but he still, to this day, denies what happened with that rape conviction. So take it as you will. What I take it as is he's a powerful voice, and he is one of the biggest influences in the cannabis industry. And if he is going to sway the Biden administration one way or another, I'll take it.
So you're saying that basically that he is the new Kim Kardashian. Is that what you're telling me, Rico?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I think let me double down here for a second, okay?
Go for it, please, Yarrow.
I think the notion was that Kim Kardashian was finally going to use her visibility for something beyond selling a product
when you think about the visibility of Kim Kardashian, what do you think of, Yarrow? I think close my eyes, run in the opposite direction. I've never watched this show. I don't know why you're famous. I don't want to buy your makeup your women's line.
You know what I think of?
But
you seem angry.
No, I don't want to know what you think of, sick man.
I think of the Sir Mix-a-Lot song, Yarrow. I think of the Sir Mix-a-Lot song. You know, I like big butts and I cannot lie.
Back. I get it, but what Kim did Kim finally took her 15 minutes of fame and attempted to use her position to highlight a real issue. And that was really, really cool. But I think Tyson has had more than 15 minutes of fame, and we don't need yet another self-anointed spokesperson talking about an issue that's nothing.
Tyson has real talent. Tyson has real talent.
Do you think? Hold on. I have a question.
More than 15 minutes.
He's got real talent in the ring, but he's still a convicted rapist.
Do you think?
Don't get it twisted. There are a lot of amazing artists out there who could take that 15 minutes, but who anointed this cat? Like, not me.
America. This is America, Yarrow.
Right.
In America, people hover towards and they follow flawed people. Why? Because they're flawed as well.
I'm flawed too. I just don't have flaws in the sexual assault category. That's all. That's all.
Man. Yarrow, I have a question for you.
But he did his time. He did his time. That's right. And he proved once again the duality of our criminal justice system and the way in which resources affect outcomes. And I'm not mad at that, because I know that that's a place where I have an opportunity to help change that. Right.
But again, this notion of redemption is between our society and the person who paid that price. It's not between me.
Hey,
I am not obligated.
Are you a Bob Marley fan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever listened to Redemption? Have you ever listened to Redemption song?
Yeah, do you want me to sing it a cappella right now? Because I'll go full karaoke on High at 9.
Hey, this life in this world is about redemption, my brother.
Do you know Bob Marley was a cheater too?
Yeah.
Did you know his life? The talent of a man of a moral code.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he was a flawed man. It's about a redemption, man. And you know what? You got to forgive. And like him or not, you got to respect the fact that if he has the opportunity to move the needle in one direction or not, if it's in our direction, like, you got to respect that. That's how I feel.
And Yarrow, I just have a quick question for you. All those people that stand in line to meet with Tyson at Champs and all these other different events around the country, do you think they're all trying to get in his ear?
I'm not sure who's trying to get into who and where and what orifice. I just
they're all sent by Evander Holyfield.
What troubles me
that the regulated cannabis industry is like the redheaded stepchild, so thirsty for attention, they'll take any attention from any person. Instead of asking ourselves as an industry, what are our standards? What do we stand for? And who doesn't measure to that?
Yeah,
we don't need to take the embrace from everybody. And we don't need politicians that have anti-homosexual policies merely because they want to tease and flirt with the cannabis industry.
Like 80% of the Republicans? Like 80% of the Republicans?
I just made a Dana dash, and we don't need convicted rapists. We need to think about what does this new industry stand for, and not just affiliate with everybody.
Yes.
Not just affiliate with everybody.
And shout out to Christopher Brady in the chat. He says Tyson's chicken is the best at the grocery store. And I didn't know Tyson even had a chicken brand, but shout out.
He doesn't have a chicken brand.
I wonder if his seasoning will knock him out. Chicken. Yeah, I wonder if
it stays juicy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, we gotta keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll right on into Mr. Yarrow Kubrin. He's our Sebastopol sage, and thank goodness his cell phone service is working today, or else he would have been short like Rico. That's right. It is none other than the Sebastopol sage, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Which article do I get to kick off with first?
Whichever one you want, buddy. It's all you. It's your day. It's your day, Yarrow. Whichever one you want to do first. It kind of
is my day.
Yeah.
It is kind of my day. I mean, I don't know that the viewers know, but this is my birthday too, bro.
Today's your birthday?
Well, tomorrow, but good enough, close enough. If you adjust for time zones.
Well, let me tell you something.
If you were in Australia or Thailand right now,
yeah.
My birthday.
Fair enough. Man, happy birthday. And you'll be on tomorrow, too, so we'll be wishing you a very happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. I kind of want you guys to, I want you to circle my table and then hand me, a really wide sombrero after you've sung my song and clapped your hands in a really activated manner.
Are you saying that because tomorrow's Taco About It Tuesday?
But you know what? Every day is a taco day. My name is Yarrow Kubrin, and
I would like to see Jason Beck clapping his hands activated too.
Yeah,
activated manner. Get activated.
Yeah.
So let me kick off this first article today, Monday, February 19th, 9:32 a.m. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, calling in when the weather tries to prevent you from seeing my little face.
Yeah.
Hundreds attend first cannabis farmers market in Cleveland to learn how to grow marijuana. This is by Tino Bovenzi, and just got updated Sunday morning. Cleveland, a first-time event in Ohio, provided the cannabis growing community the tools and education needed to get started with home grow, a skill that's seeing high interest as Ohioans wait to be able to purchase legal cannabis. The OhioCannabis.com farmers market was held at Red Space in Cleveland Sunday. Quote, this is an exciting time that people can finally come in and get access to genetics, talk to other breeders, talk to other growers, learn the techniques they're going to need to have success early on so they stay in the hobby, organizer Johnny Cannabis said. Cannabis is one of the demo class instructors who's providing beginners with valuable information that will allow them to home grow successfully. He's proud of the strong turnout, an indicator that cannabis culture is being accepted by Ohioans. People have been smoking weed and growing it in Ohio this whole time, Cannabis said. It's been your neighbor, your friend, your doctor, and your uncle. They're all in this lifestyle. They just had to keep it quiet. Now people have the ability to come above ground and be proud, or at least not be afraid that they are a cannabis user. Close to 40 vendors participated in the farmers market, selling seeds, fertilizers, clone, arts, general merchandise, and food. I feel really strongly about the industry and getting started on the right track, really pushing the education and helping people be successful. Julie Doran of Miggs Fertilizer said. Vendors like Doran are confident Issue 2 passing is a step forward to break the stigma surrounding cannabis and its health benefits. They have always tried to make cannabis altogether look like the devil's lettuce, like it's going to hurt you and ruin your life, Doran said. It's time that people come to these things and see that that it's perfectly just like tomatoes or any other plant that you can grow, and it's actually very medicinal and helping people. These quotes are very Ohio, and let's just be clear. With Ohioans still waiting to purchase recreational marijuana from dispensaries without a medical marijuana card, growing your own supply can serve as both a workaround and to save money long term. Cannabis said there will be more farmers markets events held around the state, starting in Circleville on March 23rd, and a festival and a farmers market in Canton on April 20th. It's been a great success, he said. Everybody has had an amazing time today, and we're looking forward to putting these things on regularly. So let me kick off a little bit of commentary here. I like Ohio. I like the Ohio cannabis market, and as the director of real estate for CanDev, we were successful in controlling 15% of the real estate that was given dispensaries in the medical round. And I really appreciate that Ohio is becoming adult use. I don't know that this is the best depiction of Ohio cannabis culture, and anybody who names their last name Cannabis, you're really trying pretty hard, brah. The next thing I would say is absolutely having information, instructions, tutorials, and guidance on how to do a home grow is a place that most markets need more education. And I'm excited that pretty soon we'll go to Ohio and somebody will look at me and mention living soil and the ribosomal benefits of whatever they've put into their dirt and have some very deep dive when it comes to cultivation. But I would also just say that ultimately failing in a home grow or making mistakes in a home grow or learning through experience in a home grow can be just as enriching as pulling a monster plant. And that doesn't get to happen until we decriminalize. And home gardens should always, in my opinion, be a part of any regulated cannabis policy. I've said that many times before. Anyway, this is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to hear what my other guests have to say. What do you guys think about little farmers markets teaching people how to grow their backyard ganja?
It sounds like Ohio has already leapfrogged New York and their successful deployment of a farmer's market.
Oh, I see what you did there, Rico. That's some serious shade on New York. That's some serious shade in New York.
Saying.
Yeah, but I'm just
saying. Frog in New York.
Yeah, I just threw in the chat. I believe Ohio residents need to thank Michigan State for legalization, Yarrow. Because it would have never happened. It would have never happened.
Michigan.
Michigan. Oh, sorry, Michigan. Yeah, sorry, Michigan. Michigan, because
the national champions, Wolverines.
Yes, because if the Michigan Wolverines would not have won, then there would probably be no legalization in Ohio.
They would have been complacent.
Yeah,
they would have been. They would have had no fire under them to push them to green light legalization and move forward, because they had just got their asses kicked by the Wolverines the week before, and these motherfuckers in Congress were like, no, not again, not again.
Yeah.
I successfully completed at least 8 or 9 real estate purchases for dispensary locations in Ohio, and I have to say, Ohio was a great place to operate. The people that I had an opportunity to interact with, whether they were tradespeople, escrow people, attorneys, I want to go there. I would love to visit. I want to bring the fishing poles, bring the boy, and go enjoy Ohio, because Ohio was good to us, and the people there were great. And I like the market, and I like that it's going adult use. And I think Ohio is going to continue to be an interesting and exciting market, and one worth participating in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something in Ohio.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Yarrow, I have a question in regards with this. Who was it that was actually selling flowers at the farmers market? Was it home growers, or was it the actual producers that are licensed in the state of Ohio?
Well, it doesn't say that they were able to sell flowers at the market. What it said was that I didn't see. Maybe I just need to drink another cup of coffee before I read these links. But it did say that there were 40 vendors and that they were selling everything from food to nutrients. And I think the idea was to come together in the open, talk about home grows now that they are legal, and that they are going to sort of use these events, these experiential marketing opportunities to teach people how to do a better job in their backyard. But the truth is, if you have a very few number of plants, it's not terribly difficult to grow cannabis if you have a couple plants that you give a lot of attention to. The hard thing in cannabis is growing quality at scale, that inversely proportional relationship between quality and volume. You find the same challenges when it comes to food, right? Good luck getting 3 Michelin stars with a buffet. Probably not going to happen. But growing 1 or 2 plants, it's not very difficult to do a good job, in my opinion. Get yourself a little bat guano, get yourself a couple worm casings, and play with the plant. Talk to the plant.
Yeah, I'll
Do
tell
a little yoga with it.
I'll tell you what, Yarrow. If you want,
play some classical music.
I know where there's a Michelin buffet. I know where there's 2 of them. There's one in the Wynn Casino, and there's another one in the Cosmopolitan Silver Spoons. Those are 2 amazing buffets that you should definitely try someday.
As long as I don't need to sit next to any convicted rapists, I'm looking forward to enjoying those breakfasts.
I mean, oh man! Now, I want.
What if you don't know he is? What if you don't know he's a convicted rapist?
Yeah, and now
gonna sit next to him?
He's not gonna know. He's not gonna know. But I wonder, Yarrow. I could just picture myself at this farmer's market, and I'm willing to bet there was probably a lot of bushels and bushels of THCA flower available for sale. What do you think about that?
I would tend to give Ohioans the benefit of the doubt, with the exception of people who make their last name Cannabis, and then when I try to quote them in an art form that says Cannabis, it's confusing because I don't know whether I'm talking about the plant or I'm talking about this guy. But aside from those folks, I would give Ohioans the benefit of the doubt in thinking that they came there for the education and the free flow exchange of ideas, and that they wouldn't jeopardize their public-facing events by trying to push a few zips here and there or what have you. I mean, it does show a picture in the link of people selling clones, and so I'm not sure what their regs are and how much outside of that somebody or some people may have been. But I think a lot of these states are just happy to see things go away from criminalization and towards normalization, and I don't think most people are going to try to jeopardize that by doing something that's too overt.
Fair enough. Any clothing thoughts on this, Rico?
Yes, I do have some closing thoughts on this. Let me know if you guys can hear this. Okay, I know we're in a storm and everything, but you know what?
Oh yeah, here we go.
Swag like Ohio.
Swag like Ohio.
Swag like
That's
Ohio.
right. Yes, and on that, we're gonna go to a commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
And we're at the promo motion, and so we want to make sure that you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And Matthew St. Germain could not be with us today. His family has recently just started a GoFundMe. Their son came down with a severe illness, and they're not 100% sure exactly what is going on, but the doctors are looking into it. And we hope to have an update on him sometime later this week, but we will definitely keep you posted. We are posting the barcode for or the Scantron link, whatever the thing you guys, QR codes that you guys call these things, that will take you to the GoFundMe page. So we are encouraging people, instead of doing any type of super chat or anything like that, if you would be so kind as to contribute to their GoFundMe, I know they would super appreciate it. And we all here at High at Nine wish the whole Tristan family, everybody, the whole St. Germain's a much love in this time of need, and we're here for you guys for whatever you need. And on that, we're gonna roll into our last commercial real quick.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
And we're back, and I want to apologize to everyone for the technical difficulties a little bit that we are having today. The rain is causing a lot of problems all across the country for our correspondents, and so we do want to apologize. But I have another interesting story for you guys. Are you guys ready?
What you got for us, Jason?
Yes.
What you got?
Stanislaus County leans toward putting cannabis tax on a November ballot. And what are the rates? That's right. Stanislaus County's voters could see a cannabis tax on the November ballot that would apply to licensed businesses in the unincorporated areas. The cannabis tax would replace the fees in development agreements with belagged cannabis operations to simplify assessments and reduce administrative burden. The county's proposed rates are similar to the commercial cannabis business taxes in Modesto, and the Board of Supervisors on a 4-1 vote introduced the ordinance on Tuesday and will consider an amendment at a public hearing February 27th, after which the board could formally act to put the measure on the ballot. If approved by a simple majority, the measure would establish a cannabis business tax ranging between 1% and 8% of gross sales. The county would start with a 8% tax rate for all retail shops and could adjust the rate within that range from year to year. The initial rates for cultivation, nurseries, distribution, manufacturing, and testing would be 2.5%, and the ordinance would limit tax rate increases to 0.5% in a year. The county expects to receive $1.7 million in annual tax revenue from the general fund, and county officials said the tax also would apply to illegal growers, providing an edge to law enforcement in shutting down black market cultivation. Authorities could cite the non-payment of taxes in recovering the costs of raiding illegal grows, and with a tax based on gross sales, businesses will pay less when sales are down and more when sales are up, rather than pay the flat fees specified in development agreements, county staff said. Zach Drivion, an attorney for several legal cannabis businesses, said a 2.5% tax rate would nearly double the tax obligation for cultivation and nursery operations, which currently pay fees based on square footage of the canopy. County staff will analyze the possible amendment for a new square footage rate for those business types, which will be considered on February 27th. And Supervisor Terry Withrow opposes putting a tax measure on the ballot. He was opposed to pot legalization under Prop 64, but later favored a county limit of 61 permits for commercial cannabis businesses. He now regrets that, saying the county has spent a huge amount of time on permitting cannabis businesses and overseeing development agreements, which haven't produced the anticipated revenue for the county. In a quote, "Here we are trying to figure out how to accommodate our marijuana dispensaries and grows when we could be spending time doing so much more for this community," Withrow said. Withrow added, the high potency of marijuana today contributes to mental health issues for users when about 15% of the county's budget is devoted to mental health services. Withrow said he's talked with a mental health professional about the effects of high potency marijuana, and as of February 1st, there were 16 active development agreements with cannabis businesses in the county's unincorporated areas after 8 development agreements were mutually canceled, and business owners saying the black market marijuana trade has enough
an unfair advantage have complained they're not able to pay the fees in their development agreements. California's legalization initiative in 2016 reduced criminal penalties for illegally growing, making it difficult for law enforcement to stop the illegal trade. And the annual budget for the county cannabis program lists $4.4 million in appropriations for the sheriff's department, fire and agricultural inspections, the district attorney's office, chief executive office, environmental resources, planning, and parks, but the program budget is adjusted based on anticipated revenue. And in a quote, definitive revenue projections are approximate due to the unknown future of total gross revenues from existing cannabis operators, on a county staff report said. Well, you guys, I just wonder if these municipalities took a look and to see what happened with the whole Patterson debacle with Catalyst, and now are just backpedaling on these development agreements, wanting to just take these taxes directly to the voters. But I'm going to digress and see what y'all have to say about this. You with us? Are you guys there?
I'm here.
Okay, all right. What do you think about this, Yarrow? Development agreements.
I was actually going to let Rico get the first word.
Okay.
Most of the time I can't even shut up.
It seems they haven't learned shit from Patterson, huh?
Well, no, that's why I'm saying I think they did. That's why they're going to the ballot box, so then that way they can remove these development agreements, because the city of Patterson just got it handed to them by the Elliott and the crew from Catalyst.
Well, it seems like Elliott and his team were successful in making sure that the weed for the people message is getting out, and the people speak before the government walks.
That's right. Very, very true.
I mean, I think that, if we think about the history of some of this, even before Patterson, we saw some rollbacks in Stanislaus in respects to permit fees. This was some number of years ago. That might have been Calaveras County, not Stanislaus County, as I start to walk down that dusty memory road. I think counties really need to be very, very mindful of the money that they're taking in, what they're doing with that money, whether they're creating revenue or profit centers out of these things, or whether they're just taking in enough fees to administer these programs. I mean, the bottom line is, permit is a form of taxation, right? We all know that. And so, and we know that the cannabis industry across the board is uniformly overtaxed. And we also know that overtaxation is a strong driver for a healthy, underregulated market. And so I think that we need to take a very lean approach to imposing costs and fees and on cannabis operators, and let's see this industry be sustainable and profitable before we start thinking about ways to extract value out of the industry for other causes or purposes.
Very, very true. Very true. We're getting ready for time, and we have 2 more stories. We're going to run to our last commercial, and we're going to be right back. Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition. Oh yeah, that's right. Coming back next. That's right. It is the Sebastopol Sage, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Good morning. Good morning. High at 9 News viewers. Taking a little picture of my mug and throwing it up on the YouTube screen. My next article is near and dear to my heart because it has to do with zoning. So, zoning geeks, welcome to the party. This article is in the Washington Post. It is by Letitia Beecham, and the article is as follows. Prince George's board, split on dispensary zoning, opposes the state weighing in. The Prince George's County Council is split over the zoning, but opposes a state bill that could restrict its moves. The question of where new cannabis dispensaries should set up shop in Prince George's County divided the council last fall, igniting a layered debate about quality development and the potential for legalization to advance social equity in a county harmed by the war on drugs. While council members never settled on whether to restrict new shop locations, they are nearly united in opposing a move by state lawmakers that would block them from doing so in the future. Twin bills slated for state legislative hearings later this month would limit local governments from establishing specific zoning requirements for dispensaries that are more restrictive than state guidelines, effectively ending an enduring debate in the affluent, majority Black Washington suburb. Cast by proponents as an effort to protect dispensary owners struggling to break into a new market, the proposals, council members said in interviews, would silence local voices on an issue that directly impacts them. This week, the body wrote a letter to its state house delegation stating its opposition. Local communities should have a say in what goes on in their communities, especially ones that have been ignored and abused by industry, council member Crystal Oradaha, the Democrat District 7, said in an interview. Oradaha, who co-sponsored legislation that would have relegated new dispensaries into industrial zones in the county, said many of her constituents fear a green rush of shops clogging county arteries already saturated with vape shops and liquor stores. At a public hearing over the proposal in the fall, many county residents expressed those concerns within the broader context of what they said is lacking in swaths of Prince George's: amenities and decent grocery options. The concerns of liquor and smoke shops are issues that Prince George's County leaders have created, not the state, said Del C.T. Wilson, B. Charles, who sponsored House Bill 805. The counties will have a say, but what they're not going to do is treat dispensaries any differently than they currently treat alcohol, he said in an interview, noting Prince George should have a sizable number of licensees from marginalized backgrounds. The state is in the process of setting up a lottery for applicants seeking a recreational cannabis license under Maryland's first round designed to foster social equity, with lawmakers championed as an argument for legalizing recreational marijuana in the state. Maryland legalized recreational marijuana last summer, spurring sales and excitement about the economic boost and provided equity that social justice advocates touted. People seeking to diversify the cannabis industry in Maryland told the Prince George's County Council in the fall that requiring them to locate in industrial zones would pose hardship. The county's own lawyers in September warned that the proposal could be subject to a legal challenge, a concern echoed by the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. The proposal came up for a vote in November but did not pass. Under Wilson's bill, a place zoned for a liquor store could also be zoned for a dispensary. That doesn't mean that wherever there's a liquor store, a dispensary right next to it, he said. There's going to be less than 300 cannabis licenses for the state, he said. This can be no more burdensome than what you use to zone liquor stores. Wilson is concerned that if a county like Prince George is successful in relegating dispensaries to only industrial zones, it could create a domino effect throughout the state where wealthier, whiter communities choose to only place dispensaries in the poorest parts of their county, mimicking years of systemic policies that disenfranchise more minority communities. Since the citizens of the state made it legal, lawmakers must make it safe and accessible and affordable, he said. In order for it to be accessible, it needs to be spread out fairly throughout the state. Prince George has the second highest number of zip codes in the state eligible for the Maryland social equity criteria, with a total of 18 zip codes where cannabis charges exceeded 150% of the 10-year state average. Baltimore had 19. About 90% of the people arrested in Prince George's County for possessing more than 10 grams of marijuana between 18 and 19 were Black, and Black people comprised about 64% of the population, an American Civil Liberties Union analysis found. The organization's research shows that Black and white people consume marijuana at roughly the same rate. Ensuring that racial minorities aren't overlooked in the cannabis industry after being criminalized for possession and other marijuana-related charges is also of importance to some council members. Council member Juanita Fisher, D. District 2, tried to add amendments to Orahada's proposal in the fall and abstained from voting on the letter to the county state house delegation this week, citing concerns that outright opposing a bill could prevent the county from being heard in future discussions where amendments could be on the table. Fisher, a former delegate and lawyer, has been vocal about the county council's push for limitations on the cannabis industry, stating concerns about stifling the industry before it starts and warning about the county's creating legislation that could cause it to be sued. I care about my residents first and foremost, and I don't want the county sued or in a position to put businesses behind because we're not doing the right thing, she said. I think that's why this bill from the state is trying to put some guardrails in place. Making a move that could limit small minority-owned businesses doesn't sit well with Fisher, she said. The thing about this industry is moving. The thing is, this industry is moving, and we've already been left out so far behind, Fisher said. Sometimes doing the right thing is not always the most popular thing. So let me kick this off for my fellow panelists here on High at 9 News, because zoning is something that's near and dear to my heart. Zoning is to real estate like DNA is to a living organism. It lets you know what the highest and best use of that property could be. And what we've seen with narrowly allowed zoning opportunities for cannabis businesses, be that retail or otherwise, is it creates real estate pockets where the value of those locations goes up like a balloon in a way that increases the costs for entrepreneurs before they've ever had the opportunity to collect any revenue. And the idea that you would relegate retail activities to an industrial zoning is already like tying one hand behind the back and then saying, go out and run a race. So I am actually in favor of the state preventing local government from creating more restrictive zoning requirements, especially because so much of our cannabis regulation has been modeled on the adult beverage industry. And so if we are going to borrow some of those paradigms from alcohol, why not borrow the paradigm that if a location is suitable for a liquor store, it's suitable for a dispensary? So typically, these local municipalities can be more restrictive than state guidelines. And in this instance, the state is saying, no, we do not want you to be more restrictive. So I'm very much in favor of this. And the other reason I'm in favor of it is because I believe that dispensaries that are allowed to be clustered around other commercial businesses are less likely to be victims of theft and crime than if they're tucked away in industrial enclaves where the majority of those other businesses don't even have the same operating hours. Mm-hmm. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to know what you guys think.
They need to take a look at what happened in Santa Ana, California.
Yep, exactly.
Out in Orange County, they're like, oh no, not in our backyard. They're like, no, you're not going to have cannabis here. And then Santa Ana blew the fuck up. They only had cannabis available in industrial zones. And where did everybody go? Feeding that beast. They went to Santa Ana.
That's right.
Developed the whole place. It became a thriving neighborhood. So big up to the black and brown communities out there. They try to put it all on our neighborhoods. And then what happens after that? You have a bunch of the white places in Jason's favorite county of all of California.
Love me some Orange County, boy. Yeah.
bunch of the white communities like, oh, we need to get some of that good tax money that they're getting, and then they're fighting. That's
not how it worked, Rico. That's not how it worked.
Yes, it is how it works. Yes, it is.
They had a voter initiative. They had a voter initiative.
Santa Ana was, and how much? What was her name? The Democratic operative who was you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do know exactly.
Who was giving bribes
up? I'm gonna have to
give bribes out.
You guys were Tyson and a young lady in a hotel room, so I'm gonna need to send you guys to the corner to sit down and cool out for a minute.
Allegedly.
Here's the deal.
I know. You know who you're talking about.
Prince George County is both the most affluent black community and the poorest black community at the same time. Don't make the same fucking mistake that Orange County made.
So you're saying it's like East Palo Alto and Palo Alto?
No, it's very different. If you're from the East Coast, you know what PG County really is about. But don't make the same mistake that Orange County did.
And now that I've got you in your collective corners of the hotel room, let me just highlight one thing, okay? Now that you guys are taking a time out and you're putting your gonads in the ice bath, let me just say one thing, which is typically state law allows for local counties or cities to be more restrictive, not less restrictive. And so they establish sort of a threshold, and counties can be more restrictive. This article is actually pointing out the opposite, where a state is saying you cannot be more restrictive than we already are. And the reason why they're doing that is because dispensaries have been the redheaded stepchild of commercial use of properties, and they have been relegated to these funky areas and zonings that don't make a ton of sense and have not been treated like the CPG business that everybody says it is. And so if you have a retail store and you're stuck in an industrially zoned area next to a tire place and a welding place and a wood supply place, those usages are inconsistent with the way in which the rest of those other businesses, that makeup is, what that profile is of neighboring businesses. And so in this instance, to say, treat it like a liquor license, where a liquor license, once you have it, can be venued at a variety of locations that conform with CPG considerations, traffic count, parking, proximity to blah, 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 blah. This is progress. This is progress. And the local people who said they don't want to see the opportunity pass them by, the opportunity doesn't pass you by when you have sensible reform to regulations that allows dispensaries to be in places where a typical store for other products would be. And so in California, where we've got nothing but battle scars and war stories, we know that one of the biggest challenges with regulated cannabis, quite simply, was that the state allowed counties and cities to be more restrictive than the state minimums. And in those restrictions, they created massive retail deserts. And those retail deserts created a supply chain imbalance from the top of the supply chain to the bottom of the supply chain. And the lack of retail in California is the top 3 reasons why California's system doesn't work.
I agree with all that. The local control is such a big deal.
Learn from mistakes. Learn from the mistakes of others.
And prohibit so much commerce with this local control. I agree with you, Yarrow. It's a reason why there's such a drought on retails throughout California. We don't, it's exactly why the local control and these prohibitionist mindsets of these local politicians. Not in my backyard.
And think about all of the cost and all of the administrative and legislative lift that a lot of these local municipalities undertake, typically recreating bad policy to come up with local guidelines. And even though we don't like the notion of states dictating what should be, they could save a ton of time, a ton of effort, a ton of recreating the wheel to be able to say, here's what it looks like based on our aggregated experience, both in and outside of our state. And no, you're not going to make it all FUBAR. And no, you're not going to take this NIMBY approach and just mess it all up by putting it in some little area next to a welding shop. When grandma wants to go get whatever, she doesn't want to go next to a welding shop, next to a tire shop, next to some funky industrial neighborhood. There's no such thing as a good industrial neighborhood, right? Let's be really, really clear. It's industrial. Highest and best use in an industrial neighborhood is businesses that make things for a living. There's no curb appeal. And then you want these cannabis entrepreneurs to be successful, but the unregulated market can sell their product wherever they don't get caught. And you're asking the regulated market to go sell it right behind Big O tires?
In the same alleyway where the illicit market is.
Where you used to buy, and then you were putting these legal operators under the pressure of fighting against the illegal operators because they are already posted up in the same
other
areas.
thing that chaps my hide the way it would if I had visited Tyson without consent.
What chaps your hide? Like more than sandpaper condoms. More than sandpaper condoms.
I'll tell you what chaps my hide. When we create a narrow eye of the needle by having overly restrictive maps and zoning requirements, what we create is real estate bubbles. And in those real estate bubbles, investors and operators have to pay too much because we create these artificial paradigms that create scarcity of locations. And the scarcer the locations, the more valuable they become. And speculators come in and they drive up the cost of real estate, they drive up the cost of rents, and they drive up the cost of all of those other business-related startup costs that have to be undertaken before a dispensary is actually opened.
So
because we've only got 11 places that qualify or 23 places that qualify. You open up your criteria, you open up option, and you create less bubbles and less speculation and less increased costs before operators are even open for business.
Yeah. So if I'm getting this right, Yarrow, what you're saying is they need to make sure that they don't open up these locations out in the area where you might run into another pre-redemption Mike Tyson while you're going to get your weed.
Oh boy. Oh man! You know what?
I would like the
Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait.
To be with consent. I'd like the conversation about appropriate zoning to be with consent.
Hey, on the flip side, you might run into a pre-Ray J Kim Kardashian.
Oh boy! Oh man! Consensually released on the internet. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna roll into this. I'm gonna roll into this last story since you guys are all just rolling around with jokes today. Man, and I really like this story. I'm happy to end the story. I think we're gonna end it on a high note, on a big bang, because it's illegal to possess both guns and medical marijuana in Pennsylvania, and this bill would change that. You guys, pow pow pow. Pennsylvania has had legal marijuana since 2016, but under the state's Uniform Firearms Act, medical users cannot own a gun. Dan Laughlin is trying to fix that. The Erie Republican senator is introducing legislation to amend the act to allow users to own a firearm. He said, "This is about sticking up for our constitutional rights and individual freedom." In a quote, "It's a legal product to treat symptoms with, and it shouldn't have anything to do with your Second Amendment rights," he said. The restrictions are not limited to Pennsylvania, and a change in the state code alone won't change things on a federal law, which also prohibits users from owning a firearm. Laughlin said he was inspired in part by a lawsuit filed by the Warren County District Attorney against the federal government regarding that policy. He said he was surprised the United States hasn't taken steps to remove restrictions, but that doesn't mean he can't do something on a state level. In a quote, "I can't change the federal firearms form, but I do have the ability to at least change how Pennsylvania does their medical program," he said. Michael Geer, president of Pennsylvania Family Institute, is against the bill, arguing that mixing guns with marijuana can be deadly. In a quote, he says, "With no approved dosages or formulations for specific health conditions, there can be no confidence that users won't become abusers," he said in a statement. "Most Pennsylvanians understand it's a dangerous thing to mix high THC, mind-altering cannabis products like that sold at dispensaries with deadly firearms." Laughlin has sponsored multiple pieces of legislation aimed to remove restrictions on medical marijuana or legalize adult use marijuana, and he joked about effectively becoming the Republican face of cannabis legalization in Pennsylvania. In a quote, he says, "I think that's probably a title that I've earned, right?" he said. Well, I think this is fantastic news for Pennsylvania, and shout out to this patriot, Senator Dan Laughlin out of Pennsylvania. We appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you for fighting up for our rights and freedom. And what do you guys have to say about this?
I've got some strong opinions about this. I believe that until expungement reinstates Second Amendment rights, that we have a lot of people in this country that have been denied the Second Amendment right due to their previous cannabis convictions, and that is an unfair restriction on someone on the rights as articulated or enumerated in the Constitution. I am appreciative that this Republican is acknowledging the limitations of what he's doing by quoting the fact that it doesn't change things on a federal level. And I am not so appreciative of the Pennsylvania Family Institute and Michael Geer, because when you have these organizations that say, they're the Pennsylvania Family Institute, these are these really vague, nondescript names for organizations that doesn't really give you a sense of what their true political agenda is. And so when I went over to their website, they look like they are part of the Koch brothers family of disinformation organizations.
Hold on, the Koch brothers are pro-cannabis now.
Well, are they pro women's rights to choose? Are they pro? I mean, look, they've started spending money to seed the cannabis industry with people who see things their way. Don't make me say the name of the person in Sacramento who certainly benefited financially by getting their training. I mean, indoctrination.
They're war profiteers.
Absolutely. And so
they make so much money off of our injustices. Jason's always down for a good Coke binge.
So this notion that this organization that got the opportunity to chime in, Michael Greer of the Pennsylvania Family Institute. Pennsylvania. Right. What they do is they cloak themselves in these nondescript but worthy names. Like, of course, everybody's for family. You wouldn't be against family, would you? But this idea, arguing that mixing guns and marijuana can be deadly, somebody like that, if they actually have a position in public policy, whether it's for an institute or an educational institution, or it's for a private enterprise, or it's for government, they should be fired immediately for not understanding the history of cannabis in communities, and this notion that legalized cannabis is the introduction of cannabis into communities, instead of this notion that legalizing cannabis is the introduction of safe, unadulterated, and age-restricted cannabis into communities. This person needs to get another job. They should be flipping burgers, because the idea that guns and cannabis would only be introduced together as a result of this lack of prohibition and this lack of restriction, it's painful, the amount of intellectual gaps and blinders that this person has. They are not qualified to opine. And so even having a quote from them skews the potential readership's perception of this issue, because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, not even close. Like, you'd be better off. I wouldn't even let you babysit my kids. You're that dumb. And so,
Yarrow, are you aware of the origins of why the Second Amendment was put in place initially?
Not only do I feel aware, but I want you to make me more aware, because I feel like this is a lead in to me saying, tell me more, my friend.
Yeah. Well, initially it was a compromise with the South post-Civil War, because they were afraid of slave revolts. They were afraid other slaves coming out and taking over the plantations and everything. So it was a compromise given to the ex-slave holders that they are allowed to bear arms to fight back slave rebellions. Real talk. Look this shit up. So I feel very, very, very rich, the fact that a lot of these states are still pushing back against cannabis consumers and their ability to bear arms, because it is nothing but history echoing itself, and cannabis consumers are now seen as the new slaves. So let that sit with your ass just for a second.
I would also go so far as to add that, in my limited understanding, the first group that really promoted open carry was actually the Black Panthers in the late 60s in California, and not some Tea Party don't tread on me folks.
And what happened after that?
What happened after that? So that you're stealing my lines. Okay? So that's not fair. What happened after that is they found ways to criminalize cannabis activity, prosecute Black men, give them felonies that meant they would never open carry again. So again, I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat. I'm just using some California history here. But the way in which a felony conviction took away somebody's right to own a firearm, and I'm not talking about a 500-round bazooka. I'm just talking about a simple boomstick for the country. There are, mountain lions in our hills. There are hogs that'll run you over. There are people who actually carry a firearm just for protection from animals. in the areas that I live. But I would argue that the criminalization of cannabis and the purposeful disproportionate impact on black men was a way of disarming a community. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well. Interesting history lessons right there, fellas.
And so I like that this guy is broaching this conversation, because this is a conversation where you really get a litmus test over whether someone is a libertarian or not, right?
I would say a true Republican.
People say they're libertarians.
I would say a true Republican.
Come up against some. Well, that's being generous to Republicans for sure.
To me, I believe that if you're not for cannabis gun rights and you're trying to restrict cannabis, you're not about personal freedom and liberty, and so therefore I seriously can wonder if you should call yourself a Republican, because you're not about personal liberty and freedom.
Well, as soon as women can have the personal liberty and freedom of making their own reproductive choices between them and a doctor, I might become a Republican.
I think you are a Republican every day.
How about that, Jason? When are Republicans going to really be about freedom?
When's
that going to happen?
Rico, I'm not touching that issue with a 10-foot pole. You guys are trying to set me up for failure over here.
Rico, Republicans are about freedom. They're about the freedom of Russia to do whatever they want and to make sure that Michael Flynn is still celebrated.
Shout out to Michael Flynn. General Michael Flynn.
Hey, Michael Flynn got his redemption, right? He got his shit exonerated, right?
Yep. He did. He did. The whole Russia hoax was a whole big old Russia nothing burger.
It had nothing to do with the Russia hoax. Like Michael Flynn did his Michael Flynn duties and lying and
man, you guys took this down a crazy rabbit hole right at the end. Flynn
is the Oliver North of the 2020.
Stop the cap.
Oh my gosh.
Take the hit.
Stop the cap.
Oh my
Stop
gosh.
the cap.
Oh my gosh. We need to go to overtime for this one, Yarrow.
Yeah.
Jason needs to be mic'd up. On that note, thank you all for joining us for another rainy episode of High 9 News. Sorry I couldn't be in video for you guys, but you guys want to challenge me? I see you motherfuckers in the chat trying to challenge me on that comment that I made. Do some Googling. Find out for yourself. So big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms. Tuning in each day to the Headlines of Chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing this much needed variety of perspective and your respective opinions to the table. To our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all of our sponsors keeping the lights on and our AV struggles to a minimum. Looking forward to working with more of you in the future. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the I9 News team reads these headlines every single day. Thank you too, baby girl. It has been Monday. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would like to close us out with a little bit of a tribute to the St. Germains.
I was going to give it to you.
You were going to get it, Yarrow. You were going to get it.
So, you were going to get it, Yarrow.
I'm just taking it right now.
You're taking it like Mike Tyson? Like Mike Tyson?
I'm taking it.
All right, hold on. Let me finish. Hey, let me finish first. All right, so it has been Monday, February 19th, 2024. The show's over. Hope you've all been blessed with top industry headlines, and it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And now we're going to give it right back to Yarrow Kubrin for a touching message on the St. Germain family. Let's do it.
So I just want to talk a little bit about the St. Germains for a second. I live in Sonoma County, and before I ever had the opportunity to meet them, I had heard of them, and they were friends of many of my friends. And what I know is that good news travels slow, bad news travels fast, and false news travels at lightning speed. And all I had ever heard about this family was how stand-up they were, how amazing they are. And I had heard this from multiple people through multiple spheres of influence. And then I met them because my daughter became friends with their daughter. And next thing I know, I'm texting parents for pickups and drop-offs, and I'm having these logistical conversations with a family that I had heard of for years. And what I have come to understand personally through those interactions with them is just how amazing this family is, how stand up they are, how dynamic and multifaceted, but also how committed they are as parents and as community members. And so I don't know them as well as I'd like to, and I haven't known them as long as I want to. But what I will say is, in this era of dwindling resources, in this time when there are multiple things that you could put your money into, at this time in our country when the interest rates are high, inflation's through the roof, there's conflict in the Middle East, go look at Ukraine, it's all bad. Here's an opportunity to do a small thing to make a big difference in a family's life. And I just really encourage everybody to hit that GoFundMe, not because you can, not because you're feeling flush, but because this is one of those small chances to have an oversized result for a family that deserves nothing but blessings. And if you've ever seen High at 9 News and you've had an opportunity to watch Matthew come in and riff, ramble, and rant and talk about what's important to him, the theme that I always take away from being a guest when he's present is his commitment to the betterment of society through an improvement of connection between people. And that is special, and we need more people like that, pounding that drum, carrying that message, and still being able to be functional and supportive fathers in their own immediate sphere. And so I just say, hit that like button for the St. Germains. They're an amazing family. This money is going to go to help their son with genuine medical issues. He's going to UCSF, which is the specialist hospital on the West Coast when you got real things you got to work on. And much love to them. And at the end of this, if you wouldn't mind, when this show ends, just take a minute before your next thing and say out loud to whatever you believe, please help the St. Germain family now.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. You know, like all jokes aside, we always have fun kicking it on here at High at 9 News. But the family in need, and like I said in the comments, is not just to the High at 9 family, but he is an absolute gem to the entire cannabis community, period. And his family
Very true.
Right now. And if any of you guys out there watching, listening right now, reach out to us on the same note, we would 100% support you too. So please look out and
to the Germains,
to GoFundMe for the St. Germains.
You can't be more worthy when your name is Saint.
That's cute. That's cute.
He's the himself is the immortal. He is the immortal one. He's been living for thousands of years with his family right now. So please contribute to the GoFundMe. And remember, it's always we for the people. Big shout out to Catalyst. Big shout out to everybody supporting us today. And no matter what we get into arguments here on High at 9 News, it's always love. I love you, Yarrow. I love you, Jason. And but also at the same time, fuck y'all.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. You all have an amazing day today. Happy Monday. President's Day.
Great Monday.
Yes.
Thank you, brothers.
Yes. Current President's Day, Jason.